I was just reading the Emery menu. This week we're going to talk about the Emery Hotel. I was just picking out my lunch. Let's see. How about shrimp cocktail, T-bone steak, fried potatoes, and a salad for $4.75? That sounds good. Today we're going to talk about the Emery Hotel. It was built in 1929. It was quite a hotel in its day. Welcome to another Coffee with the Curator. See you at the Emery. When the Hotel Emery opened its doors on February 22nd, 1929, it was the first hotel that had been built in the city since the Holly had been built in 1901. Today it's 91 years old. It's been a hotel, a college dormitory, and an apartment house for low-income senior citizens. It stands at the head of Main Street, although its address is number 2 South Avenue, now known as the Emery Towers. It was named after Lewis Emery, one of Bradford's oil producers and a key figure in the early history of Bradford. This is a photograph of Lewis Emery. He was born in 1839 in Chautauqua County, New York, but was raised in Michigan. He came to Bradford in 1875 and became a very successful businessman. And by the time of his death in 1924, he owned several oil-producing companies, a refinery, a natural gas service, pipelines, hardware store, gold mines in California, and a rubber plantation in Peru. He even ran for governor once of Pennsylvania. He had 5 children, but it was his daughter Grace who built the hotel in 1929. She wanted to erect a building in his memory, a spectacular hotel that would carry the name of Emery for years to come and never be forgotten in Bradford. But there was a problem with Grace's plan. This hotel, the St. James, stood at the head of Main Street on the very spot that Grace wanted to build the new Emery Hotel. But Grace had money and the power of persuasion. In December of 1927, she bought the old St. James from its owner, James Leisure. She immediately began to make plans for the new hotel. She hired an architect, F.J. Merrick, and in April 28th, a wrecking company was given the contract to raise the old building. The new Emery Hotel was on its way. That June, however, City Council approached Grace Emery with the idea of extending Main Street through the site of the old St. James onto Bushnell Street. This Sanborn insurance map shows you, roughly, what they had in mind. The idea had been kicked around for years, even since 1900, and now with the old St. James being torn down, City Council thought it was the perfect time. Not only would Main Street be lengthened, but the city would erect a new city hall there and a new police station. The old city hall on the corner of Kennedy and Boylston Street would be torn down and become the location of the new Emery Hotel. But Grace Emery didn't think so, although she made a counteroffer. If the city would pay her what she had spent so far in purchasing the land, the old hotel, architectural fees, and demolition costs, she would consider it. That amount turned out to be $100,000. In today's money, it would have cost the city $1.5 million. The idea was dropped like a hot potato, and 91 years later, Main Street still ends at the front door of the Emery Hotel. The new hotel opened for business on February 22nd, 1929. The Bradford era said the atmosphere of home and friendliness was the keynote of the new hotel. It was quite a hotel. It was 7 stories high and had 105 rooms for guests. There were 5 additional stores on the first floor, which all faced South Avenue. On the second floor, with a semi-private entrance from Chautauqua Place, were 3 office suites for professional men, such as doctors or lawyers. There was a barber shop, a laundry, a shoe shine stand, and of course a kitchen, which could serve 500 meals a day. There were 61 employees at the new hotel, including the manager, the assistant manager, the head housekeeper, a day clerk, a night clerk, 2 telephone operators, a head waiter, 14 waitresses, 2 cashiers, 2 busboys, a roll boy, although I don't know what that is, a chef, a kitchen steward, a second assistant chef, a night chef, a pastry and ice cream chef, a pantry woman, 4 dishwashers. There was a housekeeper, 6 chambermaids, 1 parlor maid, and 1 night maid, a head laundryman, and 1 laundress, 5 bellboys, 2 elevator girls, an engineer, a baggage porter, a night porter, and a doorman. That night, there was a grand banquet held with 300 invited guests. Dinner was at 7 o'clock, and guests were seated at long banquet tables in the main dining room. There was an orchestra which played, and a soprano sang, and as a souvenir, decks of playing cards with the Emory crest on the back were handed out throughout the evening. Members of Company K were also there and paid a unique tribute to Grace Emory. Appearing in full military regalia, the men entered the lobby of the hotel and marched in single file along the banquet tables, returning to attention in the lobby where they congratulated the builder and owner of the hotel in former military style with 3 rousing cheers, the echoes of which vibrated the walls of the magnificent structure. Following the dinner, the rugs in the lobby were laid aside, and the entire ground floor was devoted to dancing. Vari-colored evening gowns added prettiness to the party, in contrasting with the formal attire of the men. It was quite a night. And so the years went on. The Emory had more than its share of meetings, famous people, weddings, dinners, and guests, of course. In 1944, a human fly, a man who would climb up the front of the Emory, did so blindfolded and did a handstand on the top of the building. And he didn't fall. When Prohibition ended, a tap room was opened called the Scotch Room, and for once they could actually serve liquor at the hotel. In 1946, the Saints and Sinners, always a fun-loving group, actually brought a baby elephant into the Emory. That's Henry Satterwhite on the left. And on May 9, 1964, the University of Pitt at Bradford announced that it had bought the Emory Hotel and was going to turn it into a dormitory for the fledgling campus. Ironically, on that very same day, plans to build another modern motel, which would become the Holiday Inn in Bradford, were also announced on the front page. When the University of Pitt built its dormitories out at the campus, it left the Emory empty for several years. And it wasn't until the 1980s that it was finally approved by the state of Pennsylvania to be converted into a high-rise for the elderly. Today it's known as Emory Towers, and it still stands at the head of Main Street, overlooking the city and honoring the man for which it was named, Lewis Emory. Here's a photograph of the Emory Towers, formerly Emory Hall, formerly Emory Hotel, as it looks today. It's 91 years old now, but it looks almost exactly as it did when it was built in 1929. It's changed a little over the years, but I think Grace Emory would be pleased to know that her dream of creating a lasting tribute to her father, Lewis Emory, has survived and still stands at the head of Main Street.